Hello, I'm Patty Wipfler. I'm the founder of Hand in Hand Parenting. We're a nonprofit organization that serves parents, early childhood educators, and other professionals who work with parents and families. And I've been working with parents and families for over 50 years now. And I've been the director of a parent co-op nursery school for quite a long time. And then I've also been the director of an infant toddler center and worked with the infants and the toddlers as well as directed. So I've seen a whole lot around sharing, and I'd like to share it with you because the ideas that we have here really help you change children's lives early in their lives when they're having struggles. It helps you move big boulders out of the way of a child's development and the development of their intelligence and their social emotional intelligence as well. So what we're going to do today is we're going to talk first. I'm going to talk first about what makes sharing hard and why children have struggles around sharing. And then we're going to talk about how parents and teachers can help, give you a general idea of what we can do to move things for a child so that they can relax more, feel more at home, feel safer, and therefore feel generosity towards others. Third, I'm going to outline a sharing policy and how it works in a childcare setting or in a family, and a few of the little, there are a few details about it. And fourth, we're going to share with you a little more about the 3 listening tools that we think at Hand in Hand make rewarding relationships with children more and more possible, richer and richer as time goes on. Because these listening tools are what our sharing policy is based on. So I think the first thing you need to understand about the way we see what children need is that, yes, they need the things we all think about. They need food, they need water, they need a safe place to sleep, they need warmth, they need a family, they need people to really care about them. And they need to feel connected. What allows children to think, to learn, to relate well to others, and to remember their experiences well is feeling connected. It's like when a child feels connected, they are able to learn new things. They're able to enjoy their lives. They're able to flex. They don't have to have the thing right now. They don't have to have the blue cup. The red cup will actually be okay after a little complaining, if they feel connected. But when children get disconnected, that's where the problem comes. And children love to feel connected. They love to feel seen and understood and heard and enjoyed. They love to feel your enjoyment of them. And these are the things that allow children to relax in a childcare setting. These are the things that allow a child to relax, even though a new baby has been born in the family, and that's a little disturbing. So feeling connected is really at the root of children's difficulties with sharing. So what connection does is it allows the brain to build new neural connections. It allows the brain to actually build intelligence. So every moment that you look down at a child and say, okay, there's a step here, if you have a really little one, no, that's right, you're doing well there. Good. You are helping your child build intelligence because you are staying connected with them while they're doing a new skill, while they're practicing a new skill. Every time you sit your child down for dinner and you give them a little hug before you sit down, you are trying to ensure connection so that they can relax and enjoy their meal. So in a way, we parents, when we think about connection and provide for some connection that is really just one-on-one with each of our children, or teachers one-on-one with each of the children that are in your room, Um, that's what helps children feel comfortable. That's what allows them to learn. That's what gives them joy in learning. And the difficulty is, well, just to put a finer point on it, um, we want to really understand that what connection is about is what goes on in the social emotional center of our brain. And in that social emotional center, the limbic, it has been called the limbic system, although the parts of it are scattered around the brain. Um, that is where children sense how other people are. They sense the tension in the room, in the tone of your voice, or in how do you walk in the door. Um, Sometimes children want connection. They are hungry for connection. So you could think of a child's mind as having radar always on. If they are awake, their radar is on. Who is here? Who could take care of me if I had trouble? Who wants to know what I want to do and what I am doing? You know, who is available to protect me in this big world that I don't understand very well? That's the limbic system. And it is responsible for um, emotions. It's where emotions come from. It gives, gut responses to things. There used to be an uncle in my children's family who was booming, and he had a shtick with little children. So when the kids were really, really little, I'd hold them and go, "Ho, ho, ho. So it's good to see you, David. Oh my gosh, let me see that beautiful cheek." And he'd chuck and David had never seen him before in his life, and he was only 7 months old. And here's this guy pinching his cheek and going, "Ho, ho, ho," really loudly. And that's what he does with every child, because it's not, wasn't really coming from his heart. It was a thing that he did. And it frightened my children terribly. And the man he meant no harm. He was trying to be a good uncle, but the children's limbic system did not understand, that couldn't feel that goodness in the tone of his voice or the rigidity with which he was acting. So it's your children's gut responses are coming from the limbic system. And it's also where long-term memory sits. The and if a child feels connected, then the limbic system is like humming along. Everything feels safe. There are no danger signals as this radar is going on. And that allows a child to use their prefrontal cortex, which is the judgment area of the brain that takes a lifetime to build good judgment. This part of your brain right up here is responsible for your attention span. It's what allows children to really pay very close attention for a long time to something that is very interesting. It's where reasoning comes from, slowly but surely. It's where their judgment is building, always building. But judgment comes from experience. So it takes a long time to build excellent judgment. It's where impulse control is managed, and it's where short-term memory is managed. And what's interesting about children's long-term memories is that the long-term memory is building from before birth. There are things that happen in the womb that a child will remember. They will remember how it felt, and there's an emotional part of the memory, and then there's all the facts coming in from, sights and smells and the feel of things. And a child is processing hundreds and hundreds of thousands of bits of data every minute coming in from all of the sensations and the words that are spoken. And the mind processes all of this fine if a child feels connected, but if a child feels any sense of danger, someone is tense, someone is mad at me, things don't work the way I expected them to. Johnny has the blue ball, and I wanted the blue ball. That jostles a child's mind, and they start to feel disconnected. Sometimes it happens just in an instant. And that's where child's inability to share comes from, is it comes from something that just happened, or it comes from a long-term memory, an emotional memory, probably not a detailed memory, but just the memory of the feel of hard things that happened earlier in their life. And so sometimes a little thing comes up that reminds a child of earlier feelings of helplessness, not being able to control anything, not being able to get what they wanted. And when those memories come up, the child cannot think and their behavior goes off track. And that's when they grab, that's when they hang on to something and can't let someone have a turn. That's when they, bite somebody else because they wanted the thing. That's when all of these difficulties with sharing come up is either a child just had a disappointment right then, or an old disappointment got triggered by this new situation. The ways that we communicate, I'm here for you, I want to connect, you're safe here, which are all things that children are looking for every second of every day, wherever they are, with their family or in a child care group or school, is we can offer them connection through eye contact. We can offer them connection through a relaxed voice. We can offer them connection through motions that we make with our bodies, motions of warmth, through open arms, through a smile, through a little tousle of their hair, through enjoying them and laughing with them. All of these things show that you have an open mind, that you're not in rote behavior mode, following the rules. You are there, you see them, and you enjoy them. You're glad that they are with you. Play is how children learn. And when we offer play or pay attention to them playing and let them know we're paying attention, the play is enhanced. So in the toddler room, we had a little slide with soft landing at the end. And when I would go into the toddler room, I would go, "Oh, Jonathan, you're on the slide. Look at you." And Jonathan would have been over there just kind of plugging along, doing the slide. And all of a sudden he perks up, he hears his name. He may not even look at me, but he's like standing taller. And then he's going down the slide with oomph rather than just chugging down the slide. And then running back to go up the slide again so I can, verbally admire what he's doing. "Oh, you're going to do it again." And the whole mood in the room picks up. It's like someone is being seen, and it lifts all boats in the toddler room to have a teacher showing enjoyment in just seeing what a child does. And so these are ways that we communicate connection. It's eye contact, it's touch, it's the tone in our voice, it's the willingness to be all about being there for them in any way you can communicate that. And when sharing troubles come up, and lots of other troubles too, there's, when you're working with small children, there's biting, there's scratching, there's grabbing things from other people, there's not wanting to come to the lunch table and eat lunch, but wanting to isolate over in the other side of the room. All kinds of little behaviors that show that a child doesn't feel connected come up. And connection breaks very easily. The brain has, the big off switch for a child's brain is feeling disconnected. It is the off switch, and almost anything can trip it. And I'm just going to tell you a little story to illustrate this. One mom that we were working with, this is an extreme story actually, but it's illustrative in a good way. She had a 4-year-old and an infant who was, I think, about 14 or 15 months old. And the family was going on I think at least a 3-hour plane trip from one end of the country to the other. The baby wanted to nurse, and so the plane was up in the air and the baby's starting to nurse. And then all of a sudden the baby throws up right in the mommy's lap. That's kind of a mess. And then the baby really wants to nurse because she's scared, and nursing, calms the fears. So the mom tries nursing her again, and she throws up again. And at that point, the mom is starting to feel nauseated. And she passes the baby to the dad across the aisle. And the 14 or 15-month-old is just mommy, 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 milkies, 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 milkies. And she said her baby started begging to be nursed, but it was clear that it just, she had some kind of a bug. It wasn't going to work. And then the mom threw up. And so it was a miserable plane trip, but she had to deny her baby nursing for the next hour and a half. And her baby was crying and begging her to be nursed. And she just couldn't do it. She was sick herself. Her other child was sick. When she got home the next day, her little one's demeanor had changed. She was unhappy with everything. She was yanking things from people. She was scratching. She even bit a few times. This child was signaling, I've been hurt. I need help. I've been hurt. I need help. And so finally, she wanted ice. She wanted to suck on ice. And the mom had gone to the refrigerator to give her about 3 different ice cubes, small ice cubes to suck on. And she asked for a fourth. And the mom came up and put her arm around her and said, no, sweetie, I'm not gonna give you any more ice. You've had some ice and that's all. And she just flipped out and arched her back and started crying and crying and crying and kicking and sweating and crying. And the mom knew this approach of listening to children's feelings in order to unload the tension inside of them. She had done it with her older child several times, and now she just thought, oh, it's the plane trip. I need to just listen to her. She got scared, and she's trying to unload all these fears. And it turns out that when children unload bad feelings that either just came to them because of something that just happened, or feelings that they've got stored inside from other days and other times, they cry and they tantrum and they sweat. If they're working on fear, they get all sweaty, so sweaty sometimes that the hair sticks to their heads. And all of this is an inborn cleansing of emotion that is very deeply helpful to children. And so this mom listened. She sort of set a limit on behavior that was just getting more and more rigid and said, no, we're not going to do that. And that opened the opportunity for her daughter to cry and fight. And the mom said that she fought like a wild animal. She said she'd never seen anything like it before. She just writhed and fought and arched her back, which is another sign that a child was getting rid of fears that they've been holding. She did this for a very long time. And the mom just kept saying, I'm right here. I'm right here for you, sweetie. Whatever happened to scare you is over. It's over. It's not going to happen again. And her daughter wouldn't look at her. Often children, while they're offloading feelings, they won't look at the person who is offering love and connection. And that's not a bad sign. It's just that the child, in order to heal from an event that really frightened them or really made them sad, they need to focus on it fully. So they close their eyes. And also it feels scary to open their eyes. What if my mom isn't really here? What if she's looking out the window? What if she's talking to somebody else? It's like, I really need somebody while I feel this bad. So we call this stay listening, and we'll talk a little more about it later. That is the way that children heal from hurt that is really boggled their minds and not allowed them to think well about and not allowed them to learn. So she held her baby for a long time until the baby just finally relaxed in her arms and started playing with her hair. And the baby started playing peekaboo behind her mother's hair and laughed and peeked again and laughed. And it ended sweetly. And her father had actually been visiting, so he was taking care of the other child and was just amazed at his daughter's ability to listen and amazed at the whole interaction, which he'd never seen. And he was a mental health professional, and He was just like, wow. And then he saw his granddaughter's behavior afterwards, which was she was warm, she was relaxed, she's wanting to giggle, wanting to play, totally different from how she'd been for the last 3 days. And he just said he'd never seen anything like it. He was very, very impressed. And that is what heals a children's ability to connect. Tantrums are part of this. And what you need to know is that listening, just listening, things have been hard, and someone is going to show you, someone very small with not the words to describe it, is going to show you how bad it felt, how lost they felt, how alone they felt, how scared they felt. They're going to show it to all of you, and it's to all of it to you, and it's going to come through in their voice, and you're going to see it in their face. And they don't need to describe it to you. They don't need to tell you in words. They just need to be seen and heard while they show you everything that they can. And all you need to do is keep your wits about you. It's like, oh, this is a healing process. Oh, there's nothing really bad going on now. All I did was say no to an ice cube. There is nothing my child needs more than me right now, just me. Being held, being seen, being listened to. And what this does is to convey respect to a child. It's like you have a process of getting rid of old, awful feelings, and I will respect that process, and I will be here for you while you go through that process, because it's really scary to go through it alone. I'll be right here. I won't go away. I won't stop listening to you. I'll be right here for you. And it shows faith in your child's intelligence. It's like children are unable to function well when they can't think, when they've lost their sense of connection. They just can't function well. And you bringing connection in makes it safe enough to dig deep and haul out the bad feelings that were, the stone in their shoe, that were the thorn in their side, that were keeping them from enjoying their life and other people, including, younger siblings and the person who wants the thing that you have. So it listening is sort of the operative word. You want to listen and connect. That's what happens with Stay Listen. And it's a game changer in handling sharing difficulties. And we'll talk about that now. I want to take just 1 minute and talk about the things that we are taught to do as parents and as early childhood educators that don't really help children share flexibly because they are not connective, or because a child is not, by the time a child can't share, they're not in shape to take in any new information. So their mind is shut down and new information just goes ping right off the top of their head and past them. So the things that we're taught to do are use your words now, use your words, which is a verbal command. And by the time a child doesn't want to share, they are having feelings. And as soon as a child has feelings, they can't think. They can have feelings, but they can't think. And so use your words is kind of a band-aid that falls right off. Also, a band-aid that falls off sooner or later is timeout. You can put a child in timeout for hitting instead of sharing, or pulling something away from someone. But timeout separates a child, and the child may wind up feeling ashamed or mortified that they were put in special time. They feel judged, and that sends them far away from the parent or the teacher who imposed timeout. So we don't favor the use of timeout with children unless you as a parent have had your feelings come up and you are feeling like you want to do something hurtful to a child. And in that case, the child needs to be in timeout in order to be safe. So that you're the one that needs the timeout, and you need your needs to be met somehow there. We'll talk about that again a little bit later. And taking turns is a band-aid that falls off. And it's also a solution that means that you have to be the police person. You have to time the turns. You have to come back and say, okay, it's time to give this to that person. And when taking turns, children can't play relaxedly with the thing that they wanted to learn with because they're anticipating it getting taken away from them by you. And another thing that doesn't work is shaming them or blaming them. You need to learn to share. You really need to learn to share. That's your little brother there. And he's good and he needs to turn to you. Don't want to make children feel bad for the way their brain works. It's like the brain shuts down and they can't share, just like you can't walk with a broken leg until you've got a cast. And the last thing that can shut a child down, even worse than they were shut down before, is when we get upset. We start scolding or, using a finger or just, we have feelings too, and our brains shut down too. When we find ourselves doing that, we need to take a break and listen to ourselves so that we can come back with a more generous and a more accepting attitude and heart, really, not just attitude, but heart. So those are the things that don't work. We all try them, that's what we were trained to do, and it's what we remember our parents doing, and so we all try them, and that's okay. But they aren't the best. Our sharing policy it's actually got three parts. But the part that is at the center of it is, I'll be with you while you wait. So the sharing policy that you developed and I've used both in the infant toddler center and in the co-op preschool that I ran, and that I use with all the play dates that I run, is that any child gets to play with any toy for as long as they want. That's the start of it. The second part is, if some child wants that thing, what the adult, either the parent or the teacher, does is say, I can't let you take that from Sally. She's learning. She's learning. That I'll be with you while you wait. I'll stay right here. And in general, as soon as you bring a limit, not say the limit from 5 feet away, but you come and you say, I can't let you take that from Sally. You are bringing connection. You're bringing yourself. Hopefully you're bringing not alarm, but a relaxed, sort of a relaxed self that knows that children's brains shut down many times a day, and it's not, it's not their fault. It just happens. They don't get all the connection they need. And as you put your hand on their tummy, and keep them from grabbing the thing, feelings will come up. You make it safe for them to offload the feelings of urgency, the feelings of fear that they might not get it, the feelings of, I want my mommy, I want my daddy, which is really often those are the feelings underneath children who are being cared for by teachers in school or group settings. Or I'll never get this toy, or she'll never give it to me. All kinds of things come up there. But whatever it is, the hurt is coming out in the crying. And so for you to just stay, offer eye contact, let the child struggle towards the toy, but not let the child get so close that they can grab it. They get to struggle. You will keep them safe. You will keep the other child from being interrupted. You will support the other child and just say, Sally's having a really good time with that. And you will too, but we just don't know when. And, other things I often say is, I'm sorry this is hard. I'm really sorry you have to wait. But I'll be here while you wait. And sometimes giving them a lap to sit on, bringing them in a little closer if they feel comfortable with you like that. And then, so one child gets to offload big feelings about not getting what they want. And there you are offering connection. You are offering warmth and caring, and that's going in. They don't look like they're receiving it, but as long as bad feelings are coming out, as long as there's tantrum or crying or laughter is also part of it. Sometimes You stop a child, they'll giggle, and then you say, "Yeah, yeah, I've got you." And then you can just, you know, sort of jiggle their belly a little bit, and they might laugh a little bit more and try harder. And you say, "Oh, you're trying harder. Oh my gosh, I have to be strong." And you can sort of narrate what's going on and make I don't know, make a little interesting little game of it. Because laughter also releases tension, releases the lighter side of fears. And children love being able to, when you set a limit, being able to test you and try really hard. And you just you take it, kind of warmly and understanding that the laughter that's coming out is actually a healing mechanism for them. And okay, so that's anybody gets to play with something as long as they want. When someone else wants to play with it, you help them while they wait. You give them warm attention. If you're in a care setting and you're the one that has to get snack out, and a child is crying, crying, crying because they can't do blocks right now, somebody else is doing blocks. You can pop them on your hip, and just, I'm gonna need to do snack right now, but I'm still here. And they're crying, and when the crying slows down, you can just go, I know that was so hard. And the third part is sometimes children hog a toy. Sometimes they are on the silver trike, which is like the premium trike in the yard. And they make a beeline for it. They get there first 3 days in a row, and they won't give it to anybody else. And when you see that, after the third day, you see the pattern and you see that the child is really stuck there. They cannot think about sharing. You talk to the child and you say, tomorrow when you come, I'm actually not going to let you ride the silver trike. Other children are going to get a chance to ride the silver trike, and I'll be with you while you wait. So you give a little warning. You tell the child this is going to happen. They may cry coming in. They may cry before you even get outside in the yard to do the trike because they know what's coming. And there are feelings held there that made the child grabby, that made them hog. And so you do set a limit, but you don't set it quickly. You just wait and see. It's like you wait and see, can this child feel generous at all? Because what we're looking for is real generosity. We're looking for children who actually feel generous some of the time, children who actually can flex. And when you do this in a group setting or in your family, there are lots of cries at first, and everybody has trouble sharing or with one thing or another. They want this chair, not that chair at snack. And children, when they need to cry, they actually set up a cry. What we find is that in a program, when the whole program adopts this "I'll be with you while you wait" policy, and everybody gets to play with the thing as long as they want policy, what we find is that after about a month or two, most children have had a good cry with someone to really listen to them. They've gotten connected to the person who listened to them. They feel safer with that person. And slowly but surely, there's more laughter in play. Slowly but surely, children are paying more attention to each other in play. And slowly but surely, children are actively sharing with one another and doing things together, making things together, rather than being defensive about the toy that they finally have. It can take a while. It takes longer for children who've had really hard things happen in their lives before they got to you in your program, or coming into the world. They set up times to cry so that because there is an instinct to heal inside of children, they really do not want to carry big bad feelings more than from one day to the next. They don't want to. So they will try to do things. We will do things that we first learned this when I had a daycare home at my house for a while we were figuring these things out. And we just noticed one day that one of the little boys we asked them not to bang into the garage door with their trikes. There was lots of room in the driveway to ride trikes, but they were enjoying banging into the garage door. And I just said, no, you can't bang into the garage door, please. And this one little boy looked me straight in the eye with a big, sort of intense look. And then he rammed his tricycle right into the garage door, exactly what I just asked him not to do. And so I just went over and put my arm around him and I said, no, I can't let you ride the trike right now because you just banged into the garage door. So we're going to take a moment here. And he tried to, he tried to bicycle away, but it's like, no, I'm not going to let you go anywhere. Let's see what's happening inside of you. And he cried and he cried and he cried. And when his cry was over, that was the end of him banging his bike into the garage door. It's like he got through whatever it was that he had to work on. It's like he set up a cry, right? I just watched it happen. And you will see this when children signal when they can't think. And sometimes they signal by looking at you first and then grabbing the dirt from the plant that's in the living room and dropping it on the white carpet. Like they wait till you're looking and then they do the thing that is never to be done in your living room. So I'm going to tell you a couple of sharing stories. One is I did a play event for parents in a 3-week class that I did on, toddlers' emotions or something, helping toddlers with emotional moments. And we just 2 girls and their parents showed up. One showed up with mommy and a baby, mommy was nursing a baby and her father, and the other girl showed up with her father. And that was all. And so we start out with special time. So the fathers were giving special time to their children, doing whatever the child wanted to do. And that's a connective tool that we'll talk about. It's also very, very useful in group care. So the fathers were doing special time, and this one little girl wanted to run around the room going, baby, 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 very loudly, just running around and saying baby, 50 times. And I think that there's nothing that a child does that is devoid of meaning. And I figured, oh, she's got a new sibling. Baby is on her mind. And I didn't know what to make of it, but that looked like that to me. And when she finished special time, then it was just time to play with what we had. We had balls and we had cardboard blocks and we had mats that you could wrestle on or jump on or whatever. And this little girl who had said baby, baby, pretty soon told me, she came over to me and said, I want that blue ball. These are children who were they're not quite 3. I want the blue ball. And the blue ball, we had a blue ball, a green ball, and a red ball. And the blue ball was being held by this other little girl who these 2 girls had not paid any attention to each other at all. They'd made no contact. They're all in the same room and just hadn't said boo. And so she wants the ball that is had. And she started to run over to get it. And I put my arm on her tummy and I said, no, I can't let you take the blue ball. There's a red ball over there and there's a green ball over there. And you can have one of those. But Jenny has the blue ball. We're going to let her play with it. And she burst into tears. Oh, she was really, really upset. And she ran for her father, and I followed. And he knew to listen. He hadn't been in the class, but I think the information had passed to him through his wife. And the dad held her on the floor and he just sat down and held her. And she buried herself into him and cried and screamed bloody murder and cried and cried. No words, just a very loud screaming, which always indicates that their child was working on fear. And really crying and sweating and kicking and writhing, and she was having what my parents would have called a fit, with great judgment in their voice. And it's really good for children. It's very cleansing. It's not what my parents thought was defiance at all. It is just the child trying to get bad stuff out of their system so they can think again. And the dad was great. No, he listened and he made eye contact, and she just kept on going for about, I don't know, 20 minutes. And then she relaxed. She looked around. She laughed a little bit. And she got up. She went over to the other little girl who was playing with some cardboard blocks and her dad. And pretty soon, those two girls were playing like they'd known each other all their lives. It's like they were doing very close cooperative play. They were both feeding off of one another, learning things from one another about how to make the play even more fun. The dads were, allowing lots of physical play, and it was just a beautiful thing. It's like just a good 20-minute offload, probably about baby, 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 but we'll never know. Doesn't matter. We don't need to know what children are working on. They don't necessarily know what they're working on, but the instinct to heal is very strong. She was letting out a lot of fear. And at the end, the two girls they had a wonderful time. Very close play, very cooperative play. So, that's just an illustration of, how this can work. When you've got two children who are fighting over a toy, and they both have grabbed onto it, and the toy's going back and forth, back and forth. The best thing you can do is go in and put your hand on the toy and say, I know you guys can figure this out. I know we can figure out what to do. It's like one of you is going to get to play with the toy and the other one's going to wait. And I know you can figure out what to do here. And you just keep the toy from being grabbed, keep one child from running away with it, allow them to fight for it. Like that fight is not bad. That fight is healing because they are working to regain their self-esteem, their sense of power, because they lost it when the other child came and wanted this too. And they need that sense of power in order to learn well and have confidence in the world. So they're repairing their sense of power by really using their muscles and crying and crying and crying, so that pretty soon they'll be able to think. And you just keep your hand on the thing and keep reassuring them, you are good boys. You are good girls. You are good children. You can figure this out. You can figure out who gets the first turn. I know you can. I'm sorry this is hard, but you can figure it out. And you just let them offload until one of them, looks up at you and says, I'm going to go on the swing now. And the problem is solved. It's like one child has decided that they want something else, and the other child has got the toy. And it's not a child giving up. It's a child's mind clearing. And when a child's mind clears, they have many options that look okay to them. There are many options. It's like when your mind is really full of emotion, there's only one thing that can make you happy, and you have to have it now. There's a big sense of urgency. That's a sign that a child is captured by feelings, or an adult is captured by feelings. That sense of urgency is actually a big clue. The more urgent it is, the more fear the child is feeling, and the more they need help to offload that. And another thing that can happen is that one child grabs a toy and got away with it before you got there. And what you do there is you go over to the child who grabbed it and you say, oh, I saw that Danny had that. And, Danny, I think we need to give it back. It's like we can't take things from other people. Danny was learning with it, and we need to give it back. And the idea that you need to give it back in your gentle tone will allow a child to cry and cry and cry. No, 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 I got it. No, I saw that Danny had it and you grabbed it away. So you need to give it back to him. And you just stay and listen until a child is offloaded enough that they can decide themselves that they can part with the toy. And that means that you're not doing enforced turns, you're not policing turns, you're not telling kids what to do. You are trusting that underneath all of the feelings that they're having is a mind that can work. And it's a mind that sees that I'm in a safe situation and there are many good things I could do. And when children can't see that, some feelings need to be listened to. So you become a healer. You become someone who helps a child heal all of the ways that their confidence can break, either as a sibling in your family, as a young child, or as a child in group care of some kind. I had, and the pattern of a child wanting something that someone else has can start very early. I did 4 hours a day of infant care in the center that I ran, and I had one little girl in the mornings who would always, I think she became like 7 months old and was able to crawl. And I don't know, somewhere around 7.5 months, she would always look around the room, see that the child had a toy, and motor over there on her hands and knees and grab the toy. Yeah, it was, and I just, I don't know, I watched it and didn't interrupt it because the other child didn't complain at first. But it wasn't our policy that someone would do that. And but I saw that day after day, and this was happening in the morning with every toy that anybody had. And I thought, well, I'm gonna see what happens if I set a limit. So I brought the limit, said, no, I can't let you take that toy, sweetie. You know, I know you want it, and I know you want it a lot. And I'm sorry, I can't let you take it. And she cried and cried and cried. And it took a couple of cries, not that long. I think it was 10 minutes one day and 10 minutes the next. And she could think again better. It's like she didn't want the thing that someone else had anywhere near as much. She just, whatever that was, little glitch in her ability to think, they were resolved fairly quickly. So the things you can say when there's a sharing difficulty that are useful, in a way, the listening that you do is the most powerful thing. It's like what words have little power compared to the listening that you do, the eye contact that you make, the gentleness of your emotions, the relaxedness of your being. All of that communicates. I'm not mad at you. This is okay. You need to show me this, and I see it, and I'm happy with it. So that encourages children's instinct to heal so that you get more crying, but you also get a happier child who really loves you very, very dearly, because you understand that we are using the language of behavior to signal for help. So you want to listen 80% of the time at least. But the things to say are, I'm sorry, this is hard. I know you really want it. It's such a beautiful doll. And sometimes when the crying sort of peters out, I'll say, Sarah's really having a good time with that dolly. She thinks it's great. And you'll get a turn. We just don't know when. So just kind of making the uncertainty of the situation an okay thing in your view allows a child to cry and cry and cry about the urgency that they feel to resolve it this minute. And as they resolve that urgency, when they relax, they become happier. They feel so much better after a good cry. And you can also say, maybe you'll think of something else you want to do. And that often makes a child cry harder when they hear something reassuring like that, because you're making it safer for them to show these feelings, to get them out of their system. So you are becoming a healer. I want to outline 3 very useful listening tools, which I've been talking about, but I want to outline them somewhat more succinctly and tell a little anecdote with each. Special time. I haven't talked very much about special time and sort of mentioned it in passing. But special time is where you take a time, and it could be 3 minutes. It's like it really doesn't have to be a lot of time. but you are intentional about connecting, just like you would be intentional about giving your child a drink of water or a snack at 10:30 in the morning. You're intentional about giving them connection. And it's very useful in group care to have caregivers assigned to giving 3 minutes of special time to each child in their part of the room, or if it's, two caregivers and four children, they split up which child they can do special time with, and just to connect. And they don't even have to say anything. Um, but so it could be special time without saying it, but you set a time, you say, I've got 3 minutes for you, and I'll do whatever you want to do. What do you want to do? And you bring some enthusiasm to it. You bring an open mind. You don't go in, oh, I know what he's going to want to do. I know what she's going to want to play with the dolly. It's like you don't bring um, predictions of what the future holds. Just assume that they're going to show you something, and it might be something about themselves you haven't seen before. And so I wonder what it's going to be. And you time it so that in 3 minutes or 5 minutes, little timer goes off. And you say, oh, it was so good to be with you. And you give them a hug and you say, we'll do this tomorrow, and you can think about what you want to do. And you just do what the child wants to do. And they get to choose. And what special time does is it lets the child be in charge of the adult-child relationship, the parent-child or the teacher-child relationship. It's really a lovely thing to have children decide what they want to do with you, and helps build a connection. So special time helps children connect. Often they'll choose things that you might not ordinarily let them do. Like if they want a horsey ride, and you don't usually give kids horsey rides, then you give them a horsey ride, and then other children will choose that for special time too. And pretty soon if you've got a toddler room, pretty soon for 2 weeks, everybody's wanting horsey rides and laughing and falling off, and just really loving being body to body with the caregivers. And that's fine. It's really lovely to have children feeling joyful about coming into a toddler room, because they get to be body to body with you in a playful way. I'll just have a really good anecdote about a caregiver in a program using special time. She had one child who had just come into the program in the middle of the year and didn't know anybody there, and was like for a whole week was kind of sitting by herself and not playing in the yard and being very kind of wary and quiet, and just really not comfortable. And she was in my class, and I was talking about special time, and she decided to give this child special time. And the activity that they had that day was doing body silhouettes. So she went over and said, I'm going to give you special time, 10 minutes. What would you like to do? And she said, I want to do a body silhouette of you. And the caregiver went, oh, well, okay. And she gave the child the chalk, and she laid down on the pavement, but the pavement was pretty warm, and she just went, oh, this pavement is hot, and the child started giggling. And when the child started giggling, the caregiver went, oh, this is good, there's laughter coming out. So she went, okay, are you finished yet? Can I get up yet? This is hot, this is hot, in a playful way. She wasn't really burning up. And the child went, no, you have to stay there. And so the child is in charge, and she's doing a very slow job of the body silhouette of the caregiver, and caregiver, oh, please, can I get up? Oh, please. And the child goes, no, and laughing and laughing and laughing. No, laughing, laughing, laughing. And it really just took 10 minutes. It's like, in 10 minutes, the caregiver said 10 minutes, it was up in 10 minutes. But she said it changed everything about how the child was in the program. The child was playful, connected, or felt close to her. She felt like she was at home at last, and nothing had touched her the whole week before. So it's a really smart use of special time, and kind of bravely done. Caregivers don't easily get down on the pavement for a child to draw their body, but that caregiver did, and it was so rewarding. So in our in our center and also in my preschool, when a child was giving sort of in the middle of behavioral difficulties that were coming up, again and again, that was always the very first listening tool we would use is someone is going to give them special time. And maybe all of us are going to take turns giving them special time, once a day, some special time, so that we can build the relationship and so that we can be a helper in getting whatever is stuck in there to heal. So it's a good first step. Stay listening is just opening the floodgates so the bad feelings can come out so a child can learn and grow. And I'll tell you a really nice little story about this. One of our teachers, her daughter hit 2 years old and wanted buckle shoes. So she got her shoes with buckles. And the mom did the buckling. And one day the girl said, no, I buckle. And so mom gave her a chance to try doing the buckles. And her child had a huge tantrum. And the mom thought, well, maybe it's not good that she buckles. Maybe I should buckle some more. So she said, I'll buckle today, the next day. And her daughter said, no, I buckle. And then had another huge tantrum trying to buckle her shoes. She just did not have the dexterity to do it. And the third day, the mom said, okay, I'm going to help you buckle. And she had an even bigger tantrum in the middle of mom trying to help and show her how it worked. And so finally, the mom concluded that she just needs to tantrum. This is a new skill. It's hard to learn. She gets fed up with trying to learn it, after about 10 seconds. And that feeling that we all know, we have it with our computers. Oh, I'll throw this thing through the window. It's just not working right. I don't know how to make it work right. We have feelings like kids have feelings, and tantrums are, I'm going to jump out of my skin. I can't figure this out, or I can't make this work, or it's not what I expected. And so she just went, my child really wants the tantrums and needs the tantrums. And so I'm just going to relax and watch her try and have tantrums and try and have tantrums. And it took about 3 more days of tantrums and mommy's more relaxed attention around tantrums, and she could buckle her shoes. So children who are raised this way do show generosity. They are more flexible because they've gotten rid of a whole bunch of gunk. As it comes in, then out it comes. And they heal from the hurts that they have felt, the disappointments they've had, the unexpected, happenings that were not to their liking. They get rid of those hurts. So they have a much clearer mind and they're much more resilient. And they understand what it's like to have to cry about stuff. The third listening tool that I want to talk about is possibly the most important, actually. And it's the listening partnership. It's grown-ups listening to one another so that we have a clearer mind, when we have warmer hearts, and we have a place to go with our own frustrations and our own feelings. And in a listening partnership, you just figure out how much time you're going to take, and then you divide that time in half, and one of you gets listened to for 10 minutes, and then the other one gets listened to. Then if you were a listener, then you get to talk. And so each person gets to be in the listener role, and each person gets to be in the talker role. And there are a few really important guidelines to doing this listening partnership. One is to have full respect for the other person's intelligence, to make the assumption and listen with the attitude that you know best what to do about this difficulty that you're describing to me, if they're describing a difficulty. You know best how to use me as a listener. I'm here for you. I'm not going to, and so to give no advice, to assume that the other person, although they don't come up with any solution to the problem they're bringing up right now, that they will, that your listening made a difference, that they will understand themselves better because you listened to them. that they will experiment with solutions rather than worry, worry, worry because you listened. That their learning process was enhanced by you being a good listener. So your listening is important. That you don't know what they should do. And so you don't tell them the name of your chiropractor if they're talking about their back hurts. You don't tell them that, baking soda is a good thing to clean the big spot that, they're worrying about at home on the carpet. You just don't give any advice whatsoever, but you are warm towards them. You're full of respect, and you are full of, you know, space for anything they want to tell you. And the things that they tell you, you do not tell anybody else. And you don't come back to them asking, well, how did that work out, with your father-in-law? You just don't ask curious questions. You don't ask for, follow up on the story that they began with you. You are there to listen. You're not necessarily there to understand. If what they need to do is cry and you don't know what they're crying about, you just say, you're so smart, and I'm still right here. I'll stay with you. You don't have to tell me what this is about. So you don't need to know what's going on. What you need to do is support the process that is relieving them of hurt. And it's your attention that's allowing the process to keep on going. It's allowing their mind to relax so that they can just let the feelings pour out and not worry about how am I ever going to pull myself together. So it's a simple thing, but it's not easy because we've all been trained to be alarmed when somebody else is showing feelings. But you want to take your feelings, if you're working with children, you want to take your feelings to a listening partner and not explode with them in the middle of the room and scare all the toddlers. So listening partnerships, what we did in our center as I introduced this approach was I didn't introduce it like, oh, I've got this great idea, let's listen to kids cry, because everybody would have looked at me like I was a crazy lady. But what I did was to have all of our staff meetings, which were once a week, start with 5 minutes of listening time for each person. When I made it clear you can work on anything, you can talk about things that are happening here at work, you can talk about things that are happening at home, you can talk about, things you're having fun with. It doesn't have to be hard stuff. You can talk about really good things, your choice entirely. And everything that is said during listening time is going to be buttoned up, and we're not going to refer to it again. And we're not going to tell anybody else what you told us. And people began really sharing their lives and sharing hard things and good things and feeling like more of a team and more of a team and more of a team. It just became a really important part of what we did together. You might think we did that for 3 months before I ever talked about listening to children's crying, because they weren't really a team. They were 5 separate people working at one place. And when we started listening, we really understood one another better and better and better. And we're able to offer caring to one another in that way and feel more connected to each other because we were both offering caring and receiving caring from one another. So it's a good tool for hard work. Like the work of parents and the work of early childhood educators is so important and so difficult. We're all so isolated in our roles as parents or as early childhood educators. It's like nobody understands how important what we do is. Nobody understands how difficult it is to do it day after day after day with too little support. And so listening is a way to open up our ability to care with one another without getting all into each other's lives. It's not a social thing, but it is a deeply caring thing. And when you make it a regular thing in the workplace or have a regular parent support group you can go to, it really changes your life because You aren't unseen and unheard any longer. This is hand-in-hand parenting. We are attachment-based, emotion-focused. I never can remember this, so I have to read it, and trauma-informed. And we have lots more resources for you. We have one thing to say is we have classes for parents, 6-week online classes where you have a mentor for an hour a week that you can talk to about using these tools and share your experiments with and ask your questions. We have classes for professionals, for psychologists and occupational therapists, doctors, nurses, anybody who works with families. And we have trainings for early childhood programs of all kinds where the parents get this information and a chance to try it. The staff, the teachers get this information and get a chance to try it. And the administrators get this information and get a chance to try it with people who are trained to teach well in these settings. So we've got all levels. There are self-guided courses. You can just buy the course and follow the experiments that we suggest and see what you learn. And we have a really good book. It's called Listening: 5 Simple Tools to Meet Your Everyday Parenting Challenges. And you can find it on Amazon or Audible. And I wrote it with a woman named Tasha Shore, who is an expert on helping children with aggression. I'm so pleased to be with you. I'm so pleased to share these ideas, and I hope you'll experiment with them. I hope you have fun giving it a try. Thank you.